Hey there. I'm taking apart a track today. That's the track you just heard. That's called Radial Cities. It's something new for a new show. It's actually the bows music, the finale music for a new circus that's opening up in August. On August 13, the show is called The Stars Above. This is something I've actually been working on since last year, but the news of it only just became public yesterday. So I'm ready to show off a little bit of what I've been doing. I'm actually on a team of three composers working on the gig. So what we're looking at today is just one of the songs from the show, and it's just my song. But there's actually a whole lot to this thing, so I'll probably do some more streams over the next couple of weeks. To give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what's going to happen. So let's break down this track a little bit. I just want to tear it down to the bones. I kind of want to take all the little parts of it and listen to them alone. And, for my nerds, for my music production nerds, we'll talk about which virtual instruments and stuff and techniques a little bit. But mostly this is just for anyone who wants to hear what's under the hood of a song. So with that, maybe we should look at the melody of this tune. The song has a really simple melody to it, actually. Incredibly simple. Let's see. Just play it a little bit. Yeah. with some simple chords. I mean, that is it. There's very little else to the song, that melody and those chords. I mean, it's interesting how much mileage you can get out of such a simple thing, but that's what's here. It's not genius. It's just some notes. But you put it all together with a few more instruments and layer it up, and it seems to have some more depth to it. So what else is there for instruments? Let's just roll through them. That melody is actually being played by a virtual piano sound that I call the crud piano. I made up this processing for it so that it will sometimes sound really kind of broken. Let me find a section where that is true. Like here. There's this strange, I don't even know what it does. Some kind of a sine processor thing that makes this piano like kind of modulated by the sound of a sine wave to give it some sort of like lo-fi. So that's happening in there. There's another piano part, which is, I'm using the sound of, it's a Native Instruments virtual piano called the Grandeur. That is what's playing the chords, the body of this thing. I could put that together with the melody piano. All right, so you get the idea. And actually, I'm going to be organized about this. Stuff we've already listened to, I'm going to move to the top of the window so that I know we looked at it. And I'll try to go through this in a somewhat organized way if I can. I'm already disorganized. It's good. I'm living up to my profession as a musician. Trying to stay this disorganized. How about the bass sound? This is an interesting bass sound because it sounds, well, it sounds a bit like a real bass in context. But here it is soloed. It's actually a synth bass. So that bass is, I built that in Ableton's analog synth custom for this song. This whole show, I've been tending to take plugins and make my own settings, or just totally build instruments from scratch, or use a real piano and a real accordion wherever I can. I'm trying to not give it an out-of-the-box sound wherever possible. So all the synth sounds that there are, I just built from the ground up, so they would be unique to this, and they would fit in the song better too. So that bass is in that category of things. Let's check out the drums. No, let's check out the strummy guitar. This is also a virtual strumming guitar. Yeah, this is also a Native Instruments virtual guitar. This guitar, the way it works is one of your hands fingers out what notes should be in the chord. Let's see. Yeah, one hand can shape what chord it is. And that's my right hand. I'm picking the notes there. And my left hand is picking the kind of strum that it is. There's a short strum. There's a long down strum. There's a slow down strum. And that's a slow up strum. There's a thump against the guitar. Well, so you get the idea. I'm using a virtual one. If I could play guitar or any of these instruments that are non-piano and accordion instruments, I certainly would. And in the live show, much of this the guitar parts certainly will be played by guitarists live in the show. As much as we can put real human beings into the mix of this thing, we will do that. All right, what else? We listened to a guitar. There's another guitar. Here's that other guitar coming in. That's a Stratocaster. That's also a Native Instruments. No, it's from Shreddage, actually. Yeah, I think at that point in the song, it just had to go somewhere. It had to get kind of heavy. So you hear the drums and an electric guitar finally come in. In the very beginning of the song, it starts from about nowhere. It's like a very subtle beginning. In fact, it actually comes in with the sound of crickets, which I believe the recording came from Camilla. She's always like running around. Every time she hears something environmental that's interesting, she records it on her Zoom recorder. So you get the idea. It starts from a really low energy point. So by the time we get to the end and we come back in strong, that's where it makes sense to have an electric guitar. It really is a 4-chord song. It never just stops. That's a C chord, a G minor chord, a B flat, and an F chord. That's just never quits. And it's in 3/4, which is like almost a kind of a formula for like an anthemic final bows moment of a big show where like you're kind of earned this moment for everyone in the cast to get up, and it's just like turning and turning. It could almost go on for forever, kind of a sound. And it kind of does. All right, what other instruments do I have in this song? We've heard bass and a couple of guitars. We've heard a couple of pianos. Let's keep moving stuff. Oh, there's this. Well, there's drums. Certainly, there's a ton of drums in here. Once it gets going. This is an 80s virtual drum kit. It's one of these ones that Native Instruments made that was sampled in Abbey Road Studio, and it has a particular sound to it. I'll solo that. Here's the drums alone. Something about the way that drums were recorded in the 80s. It was complementary to like electronic sounding things. And I've got all these synthetic bleeps and bloops that we haven't even looked at yet, but somehow it just works. You know, and I'm thinking in terms of creating this like big anthemic finale of a show with this. So big drums, you know, you want to feel it, not just hear it. Let's keep going with percussions. So one thing I have in here, let's see. There's a lot of little tiny sounds that you hear starting in the beginning of the track that are just on their own little details, little small layers that don't amount to too much, but they're in there layered in. This little hi-hat. Almost sounds like a cricket. That's a sound. I mean, it's like a drum machine. It's an 808 sound that comes in Ableton. And I've just made this like really fast roll of notes in it. Very one-dimensional synthetic sound that works good in big layers of stuff. I have some samples I made of things in my kitchen here. Let's see what this is. I think it's the two Coke bottles clinking together, I think. Yeah. Barely hear it. It's in there though. this 80s kit thing is. Oh, we already looked at that. That's the big 80s drum kit. Okay, moving along. There's something I call stick. I don't remember what this is. Let's see what this is. Let's put some of that together. Oh, actually, there's some more percussion. Let's put all these little percussion things together and just play them together as one thing. This could be interesting. Let's see what this sounds like now. Let me take the solos off. So a lot of those weird, like, sampley percussion things, like the kitchen stuff, the Coke bottles from the kitchen, and the weird stick thing, and the 808s, I build in the Ableton Live simpler sampler thing that you see at the bottom of the screen there. That's where I build those. It's really fast. It's a fast interface. They just take stuff that you have, like recordings that you're making or that you have lying around the hard drive, and just fling them in there. And then suddenly, they're just a musical instrument that you can now play with a keyboard. There's the bottles. 2 Coke bottles clicking together. That's a can of Coke snapping open the lid with a bunch of echoes in it. All right. I think you get the idea. All right, so that's just a bunch of weird electronic sampled percussion things that help build a texture in the background. There's been this question through this whole process, making this score. Since there's 3 musicians on the team, 2 of us started back in October creating original score for this, and we have 2 different styles. The other guy is Book Kennison, for whom this is his first full score he's doing for a circus, but he's actually well on his way as a musician and has released material on his own, and he's scored a film called Easy Bake, actually, like a song score with Logan Kerr. So he has a sound of his own that he's already developed. And, there's been this question from day one of what do we do together? And in part what we're doing is doing different things. Like, we've found complementary sounds that are each our own. And then, there's 4 or 5 songs we did together in various different approaches, and those are sometimes the most interesting ones that are in the show now. There's a song that he wrote the lyrics for and sings the lead on, and I wrote the melody and the chords, and I played the piano on it, and I'm proud of it. It's not done. It's still evolving, but it's come a long way, and it's a cool song. That one, well, we'll do a whole thing on that one. We'll do another stream, but the song is called St. Dwayne Thorpe. And this is all for the new show, The Stars Above, that I mentioned. In fact, let me put the link to the show's website up in the chat right now in the comments. I'll put this in here so you can check out the show. They just went public, so you're the first to know about it. So there's a link for that um, in the comments. All right, what else can we do about this song? I got off on a tangent. I don't even know what I was saying. Kitchen percussion layers. Oh, I was talking about all this these sampled percussions. I look for ways, that to do things that I haven't done in other scores, but that would work in this score and kind of integrate my sound with Book's sound, because what he's doing is way more from the world of electronic music, like very synthetic, very loop driven, sample driven, and he uses analog synths with sequencers. So, or he has one particular analog synth that he uses, and he's a guy who can play guitar and harmonica too and sing. But like his sound comes from, I guess what like people would describe as the lo-fi hip hop genre in many ways. Okay, so you've heard some of that. How about some of these more synthetic bleeps and bloops? Okay, there's this harp sound that you hear pretty much right from the get-go. Let me pull this up. It's not really a harp, obviously. It's very synthetic. That is a sound that I created in one of the native things to Ableton Live. This is. They have like a modeling instrument. What do you call this? I don't even know what they call this. The resonator instrument or something? It basically, like, you construct instruments by picking what the materials they're made of and what the dimensions are and how they're struck and like what the resonant materials are. You can make like stringed instruments, drum head instruments, wind instruments, pipe instruments. So I tend to use it to make synthetic things that have like a lot of control over how it fits in the mix. And obviously, there is a ton of echo on that, which is a part of what makes it sound, It's like a rhythmic echo that is timed to the beats of the song. I might have had myself muted a second ago. I was just talking about how the echoes of that sound are synchronized to the beats of the song. All right, so that's a harp sound. We heard some drums and some percussions. How about, okay, there's a couple of last few things. Let's see. This is a really strange instrument from Spitfire. No, that's not it. Where is it? Here it is. The pendulonium. This is really an oddball thing. It has, I mean, every note makes so much sound. I'm barely playing it. And you can kind of hear, like, at the beginning of the note, there's like the pluck of an electric guitar. And this sort of like choral voice effect takes over, and so does this like reverberance. That's from the Sound Dust series for my music tech nerds. That's from Sound Dust on Spitfire. There's a lot. Those are infinitely tweakable. You can really build a sound. There's also a randomness to these instruments from Sound Dust that you kind of don't know what's going to come out of it always. There's a lot of random factors built into the sound, so it's evolving and it's not all under your control, which I love. It keeps me paying attention to it, and it forces me to leave space around it so that it can do its thing, and I really like that about it a lot. Where it's fitting in the song, there it is. And actually, at the end of this sort of breakdown, I use it to get back in. It sort of has this like reverse echo tail to it that helps us get back in. All right, so that is the Sound Dust pendulonium. And there's a pad I built for this song that I never used. It's not in the song yet. God, it sounds really awful. I guess that's why I didn't use it. Yeah, so we'll see. I kept it in the template. I kept it in the tracks in case I find a need for it. All right, so we're getting near the end, but there is this thing I built with a pad in FM8, the Native Instruments frequency modulation synth, which I really love. I can always do something with this. It's always cool. I like programming in here from scratch. If you have your headphones on and you hear this sound, the tail of the sound moves and moves around behind your head. it just actually feels really good to play that. Like, it's like playing a real instrument in some way that, like, I feel vibration with it. I feel something organic happening that is constantly varying. So I really like that pad, but I didn't use it as is. Now, if I solo it, you'll kind of hear what notes I was playing on it. It's this purple track. So I'm just playing the chords of the song as they're written, the same 4 chords over and over. But then what I've done is that's passing through a vocoder. So what you get is this. This is the vocoder here, this weird ripply vibrating graphic-y thing. Vocoders are interesting. That's actually an old music technology that is sort of like recreated in a digital world here, but vocoders go back to like pre-computer sound. So what's happening is there's another sound that you're not hearing directly that's changing the sound of that pad I was showing you. And so what that sounds like, let me shut some things off here. This thing that you're hearing is this totally gross, useless sound that I wouldn't have in this song, but I'm using it to modify the beautiful pad. And so the end result is this. And in context, so of course you can hear that pad with the vocoder at the end there. It's the last thing you hear besides these crickets. And the crickets are just crickets. There's no magic trick there. I think that Camilla recorded these crickets. Sounds like something she would have recorded. I had them on my hard drive. I don't know where they're from. So if you missed the beginning of this, all of this is new music. This is the first time it's been heard at all. And this is for the finale, the bows of a new show called The Stars Above, which is from Hideaway Circus. The link to the new website, by the way, is in the chat. This show just got publicly announced yesterday, so I haven't mentioned it, but I've been on it since October working with Book Kennison, and now a new member to our music team is Jacob Avner. We're working for Josh Avner and Lindsay Avner, who are producing the show, and they're the founders of Hideaway Circus. To give you a little context. And speaking of circus music and context, I have been doing a workshop for artists and directors. It's free once in a while. just to share what I've learned over 3 decades of tinkering around with music for circuses. And I'm doing another one on the 3rd of July. It's online. The link is in the chat. It's a workshop on making music work. It's for the circus. So mostly that is steered toward circus artists, other circus practitioners like directors or producers. Musicians have attended it and enjoyed it, but it's not going to get into music theory, and it's not a composition series or something like that, or a composition talk or whatever. It's a chance to, if you're an artist or if you're interested in working with circus artists, chance to see some really good examples of music that works and music that doesn't work, and to talk about why and how. And I invite the circus artists, to bring video of their own act, so that we can do a critique or an analysis or just a discussion of what's going on. So anyways, the link to that is in the chat. If it's something that you want to learn more about or register for it, it's there. Another thing I'll just pop into the chat real fast is the contact for me, Peter Buffano. There's an email list and there's an email form. If you're not on my email list, you should get on it. I will not spam you, I promise. Although if you're here watching this, you probably are on my email list. So those links are all in the chat, the comments. We've listened to all these instruments. I'm going to give it a once more through from the top. So here it comes, the whole tune. All right. There it is. The song's called Radial Cities. You heard it first. So thanks for hanging out and doing this. I'm going to do some more over the next few weeks as I finish more and more songs from the show. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, do that. If you're not on the email list, the link is in the chat. That's it. That's it. That's all I have to tell you. So have an awesome